The alarm screamed through Nexus Station like angry metal birds. Red lights flashed everywhere, painting the walls in bloody colors. Something was coming in fast, too fast. Harin Kim looked up from her medical charts. She was a human doctor. Small and thin compared to most aliens on the station. But her eyes were sharp and determined. What's happening? She asked Jinha Park, her medical assistant. Jinha was checking the emergency alerts on his tablet. He was a former soldier who had seen too much war. Now he helped save lives instead of taking them. Emergency landing in Bay 7, he said. Something big crashed through the shields. They could hear the noise even from the medical center. Metal screaming against metal. The sound of something breaking apart. Then silence. All medical teams to Bay 7, the station's computer voice announced. Emergency response needed immediately. Harin grabbed her medical bag. Jinha picked up the portable scanner. They ran through the corridors together. Other aliens moved out of their way, some because they respected the medical team, others because they were afraid of what might be in Bay 7 when they reached the docking bay. Harin stopped and stared. She had never seen anything like it. The escape pod was huge, bigger than most shuttles. But it was torn apart, pieces of metal scattered everywhere. Smoke poured out of the broken hull. And standing in the middle of the wreckage was something that made every alien on the station step back in fear, a Drakari warrior. Harin had only seen pictures of them before. They were 12 feet tall, covered in dark scales that looked like armor. Their eyes glowed red in the dim light. They had claws that could cut through steel and teeth that could bite through bone. The galaxy called them apex predators for good reason. This one was dying. Green blood poured from wounds all over her body. One arm hung useless at her side. Burns covered half her face. But she still stood, still looked dangerous even while dying. In her good arm, she held something small. A baby, a Drakari cub. By the stars, whispered Dr. Vorthak, the station's chief medical officer. He was a tall, gray alien with 4 arms and cold logic. A Drakari, here. Other aliens had gathered around the bay. The Kethri technology experts stood far back, their blue skin pale with fear. The wise elders of Paxil whispered among themselves, their ancient faces worried. We need to help them, Harin said. She started walking toward the warrior. Stop! Dr. Vorthak grabbed her arm with 2 of his hands. You cannot approach a Drakari. They are killers. Monsters, even dying, she could tear you apart. She's holding a baby, Harin said. Look at her. She's not trying to hurt anyone. She's trying to save her child. The Drakari warrior took a step toward them. Her legs shook. More blood fell to the floor. She was trying to say something, but only strange sounds came out. Her species did not speak like other aliens. They used their minds. Stay back, human, said Elder Thulvin, the oldest and wisest of the Paxthul. Drakari are death itself. To touch one is to invite destruction. Harin looked around at all the aliens. They were all afraid, all of them. Some of the most advanced species in the galaxy, and they were too scared to help a dying mother and her baby. Jinha, she said quietly. Get the medical scanner ready. Harin, maybe we should get it ready. The Drakari warrior fell to one knee. The cub in her arms was so small, so still. Harin could not tell if it was breathing. We cannot get involved, Dr. Vorthak said. The Drakari Empire does not forgive, does not forget. If we help, if we touch their kind, they will come for us. They will come for the entire station. This is not Empire business, said Commander Kethri Zol. His blue skin was almost white with fear. This is survival. Drakari bring only death. We must let nature take its course. Nature? Harin stared at them all. You're going to let a baby die because you're scared? It is not a baby, Elder Thulvin said sadly. It is a future killer. A predator that will grow up to hunt and destroy. Perhaps it is better this way. The Drakari warrior tried to stand again. She could not. She fell forward, but protected the cub with her body. Green blood spread across the floor like a small lake. Harin could not watch anymore. She broke free from Dr. Vorthak's grip and ran toward the warrior. Harin, no! Jinha called out. But he ran after her anyway. He had been a soldier. He knew about not leaving people behind. The Drakari warrior's red eyes fixed on Harin as she approached. For a moment, the human doctor thought she would die. Those eyes held intelligence and power, even in death. They could have killed her with a look. Instead, something impossible happened. The warrior's mind touched Harin's. Not with words, but with feelings, pain, desperate love, a mother's fear for her child. And then words that burned themselves into Harin's brain. Protect ... the future ... of my kind ... The warrior's eyes went dark. Her massive body fell still. The great Drakari warrior was dead, but the cub in her arms was still breathing, barely. Harin knelt beside the tiny creature. It was no bigger than a human baby, but already she could see the scales, the small claws, the beginning of what would become a fearsome predator. Its breathing was so weak she could hardly see its chest move. Jinha, bring the scanner, now! Jinha ran over with the medical equipment. Behind them, the other aliens watched in horror and fascination. The readings are bad, Jinha said quietly. Internal injuries, blood loss, organ failure. Harin, don't say it. Harin carefully picked up the cub. It was heavier than it looked, but still so small. We're taking it to the medical center, now. This is madness, Dr. Vorthik called out. You cannot save it. Our medicine does not work on Drakari. Their biology is too different, too alien. Then we'll learn, Harin said. She was already walking toward the medical center. We'll figure it out. And if you fail? Elder Thulvan asked. If it dies anyway? Harin stopped at the doorway. She looked back at all the aliens, all the advanced species that had given up before trying. Then at least we tried, she said. At least we didn't let fear make us into cowards. She walked out of the bay, carrying the dying cub. Jinha followed her, carrying the medical equipment. Behind them, the aliens stood in silence around the body of the greatest predator in the galaxy. They had let fear decide for them. The humans had chosen differently. In the medical center, Harin and Jinha worked through the night. They had no idea how to save a Drakari cub. Their scanners could barely rid its alien biology. Their medicines might poison it instead of healing it, but they did not give up. They tried everything they could think of. They researched, they experimented. They refused to accept that it was impossible. As the sun rose over Nexus Station, something miraculous happened. The cub's breathing got stronger. Its heartbeat steadied. Its small red eyes opened and looked at Harin with curiosity instead of fear. The humans had done what the entire galaxy said could not be done. They had saved the future of the Drakari, and they had no idea how much the galaxy was about to change. 3 months had passed since the night that changed everything. The small Drakari cub had not only lived, but grown strong. Harin watched him play in the medical center's observation room, amazed at how much he had changed. They called him Quan, after Security Chief Quan Li, who had helped protect them from the angry aliens who wanted the cub removed. The name seemed to fit. The little predator had grown from the size of a human baby to the size of a small child, but he was already stronger than most adult aliens. Look at this, Jinha said, holding up his tablet. He's learning our hand signals faster than we can. Teach them. Harin smiled as she watched Quan stack metal blocks into a tower. Each block weighed 50 pounds, but he lifted them like they were made of air. His red eyes focused on the task with intelligence that surprised everyone. The communication tests are amazing, Harin said. He understands basic concepts now. Safety, danger, friend, enemy. And he's starting to reach out with his mind. Jinha nodded, but gently. Not like the stories about adult Drakari who can crush minds with their thoughts. He's careful with us. That was the strangest part. Every book, every report, every story about Drakari said they were pure predators. They hunted, they killed. They dominated everything weaker than themselves, but Quan was different. The door chimed. Security Chief Quan Li entered, looking tired. He was a tough human who had served in many wars before coming to Nexus Station. These days, he spent most of his time dealing with the political problems that came with housing a young Drakari. More protests today, he said, sitting down heavily. The Vorthik delegation is demanding we turn him over to them for proper study. The Kethri want him shipped to their research facility. And the Paxthul elders think we should put him in some kind of prison. He's a child, Harin said firmly. Not a weapon or a research subject. Try telling that to the Galactic Council, Quan Li replied. They're meeting next week to discuss what they call the Drakari problem. 3 different species have threatened to stop trading with the station if we don't get rid of him. Young Quan looked up from his blocks. Even at 3 months old, he seemed to understand when adults were worried. He made a soft sound, almost like a purr, and reached out with his mind. Harin felt a gentle touch of comfort and curiosity. He knows we're talking about him, she said. He's trying to make us feel better. That's not normal for his species, Jinha said. Drakari don't comfort other beings. They don't care about feelings that aren't their own. Maybe that's changing, Harin said. She knelt down next to young Quan. Maybe we're all learning something new? The door chimed again. This time, Dr. Vorthak entered with 2 other aliens. His forearms moved nervously and his gray skin looked pale. We need to talk, he said. There have been developments. Harin stood up. What kind of developments? Show them, Dr. Vorthak said to one of his companions. The alien activated a holographic display. Images filled the air news reports from across the galaxy. The headlines made Harin's heart sink. Humans raise Drakari killer Nexus station. Creates monster galaxy in danger from human experiment. It's getting worse, Dr. Vorthak said. The story has spread to every system. Some species are calling for military action. Others want economic sanctions. And the Drakari Empire, He paused, looking frightened. What about the Drakari Empire? Quan Li asked. They're sending investigators. They want to see what we've done to one of their kind. Young Quan made a small sound. Not happy anymore. Worried. He could feel the fear in the room, and it was making him scared too. When? Harin asked. 2 days. Maybe less. Harin picked up young Quan. He was getting heavy, but she could still carry him. He wrapped his small arms around her neck and pressed his face against her shoulder. Even with scales and claws, he felt like any frightened child. We won't let them take you, she whispered to him. I promise. But promises were hard to keep. When the whole galaxy was watching, the next day brought more bad news. Ships arrived at the station, not just Drakari, but vessels from 5 different species. They all wanted to see the human experiment for themselves. Harin and Jinha tried to keep young Quan's routine normal. They played learning games with him. They taught him new words in human language. They showed him pictures of different species and explained that most aliens were not enemies. But young Quan was smart. He knew something was wrong. He stayed close to Harin, watching the door with his red eyes. Sometimes his mind would touch theirs, sharing feelings of confusion and fear. He's just a baby, Jinha said as they watched him sleep. How can they be so afraid of someone so small? Because they know what he could become, Harin replied. Adult Drakari are the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. They're afraid he'll grow up to be like them. But he won't, will he? He's different. Harin looked at young Quan sleeping peacefully. I hope so. But even if he becomes strong and dangerous, that doesn't mean he'll be evil. Humans can be dangerous too, but we choose how to use our strength. The crisis came the next morning. Harin was feeding young Quan when the alarm started screaming. Not the gentle chimes of normal alerts, but the harsh wailing that meant real danger. All hands to emergency stations, the station's computer announced. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Quan Li's voice came over the communication system. Pirate ships have breached the outer defenses. They're boarding the station. All civilians to safe zones immediately. Harin grabbed young Quan. We need to get to the emergency shelter, she told Jinha. But they were too late. The medical center's doors exploded inward. 5 alien pirates stormed in, weapons ready. They were Corvania, a species known for being cruel and greedy. Well, well, the lead pirate said, grinning with too many teeth. Look what we found, the famous human pet project. Stay away from him, Harin said, holding young Quan tighter. Oh, we're not going to hurt the little monster, the pirate said. He's worth more alive. The Drakari Empire will pay a fortune to get him back. Or maybe we'll sell him to the highest bidder. Young Quan had been quiet, but now he made a sound Harin had never heard before. It was low and threatening, like the growl of a much larger predator. Did you hear that? One of the pirates laughed. The little killer is trying to scare us. That was their mistake. Young Quan slipped out of Harin's arms. He was only 3 months old, but he was already 4 feet tall and incredibly strong. As the pirates reached for him, something changed in his red eyes. He moved faster than Harin could follow. One moment he was standing beside her, the next he was in front of the lead pirate. His small hand pushed against the alien's chest knot. Hard, but with perfect placement. The pirate flew backward into the wall. The impact was so hard it cracked the metal. The other pirates raised their weapons, but young Quan was already moving. He didn't fight like an adult Drakari with rage and killing fury. He fought like something new. He disabled their weapons without killing them. He knocked them down without breaking bones. In less than 30 seconds, all 5 pirates were unconscious on the floor. Young Quan stood in the middle of the room, breathing hard. His red eyes were still glowing, but when he looked at Harin, they were gentle again. "Friend safe?" he asked. The words came out strangely, but they were clear. Harin stared at him. You talked. Real words? Friend safe, he repeated. Then he walked over and hugged her legs. Protect friend. Always protect friend. Jinha was looking at the unconscious pirates. Harin, do you realize what just happened? He could have killed them all. At 3 months old, he's already strong enough to kill adult aliens. But he chose not to. He protected us, Harin said, still amazed. He didn't hunt or kill, he protected. Word of the fight spread through the station within hours. The visiting aliens watched the security footage over and over. A 3-month-old Drakari had defeated 5 adult pirates without killing any of them. This is impossible, Dr. Vorthek said, watching the recording for the 10th time. Drakari don't show mercy. They don't protect other species. They don't choose gentleness over violence. This one does, Harin said. She was sitting with young Quan, who was playing with his blocks again as if nothing had happened. Maybe that's what makes him special, but Harin knew their problems were just beginning. The galaxy had seen what young Quan could do. They had seen a Drakari who was different from every other member of his species, and that made him either the most dangerous being in the galaxy or the most important. The humans had created something unprecedented. Now they had to protect it from a galaxy that didn't understand what it meant. Outside the station, more ships were arriving. The Drakari Empire was coming to see what had happened to one of their own. Harin held young Tun close and wondered if their miracle was about to become their nightmare. The message came at dawn, delivered by a ship that appeared without warning. It was black as space itself, with no markings except for one symbol, the claw of the Drakari Empire. Harin stood in the station commander's office, holding the message. Tablet with shaking hands. The words were simple, but they chilled her to the bone. The corrupted offspring will be retrieved or destroyed. The Empire does not tolerate weakness in its bloodline. You have 3 days to surrender the defective cub or face the consequences. Commander Sarah Chun, the station's leader, looked pale. How many ships are out there? 5, Security Chief Quan Li reported. Drakari warships. Each one could destroy this entire station and the Galactic Council? Harin asked. They've officially sanctioned the hunt, Commander Chun said sadly. They're more afraid of the Drakari Empire than they are interested in protecting one child. Harin felt young Quan's mind touch hers. He was in the medical center with Jinha, but he could sense her fear from across the station. Even at 6 months old, his telepathic abilities were growing stronger every day. What about the other species? She asked. Surely someone will help us. Commander Chun shook her head. The Vorthek have already left. The Kethri are packing their equipment. Even the Paxthal elders are preparing to evacuate. Nobody wants to be here when the Drakari come. Cowards, Huan Li said angrily. All of them. Smart cowards, Commander Chun corrected. The Drakari don't make empty threats. If they say they'll destroy the station, they will. Harin looked at the message again. What does corrupted offspring mean? And why do they call him defective? Because he's not like them, Jinha said from the doorway. He had been listening. Adult Drakari are pure predators. They hunt, they kill, they dominate. But Quan protects instead of hunting. He shows mercy instead of killing. To them, that makes him broken. He's not broken, Harin said firmly. He's evolved. He's better than they are. Try telling that to Battlemaster Morthic, Commander Chun said. He's leading the hunting party. The files say he's killed over 1,000 beings in single combat. He's never shown mercy to anyone. Young Quan appeared in the doorway, having escaped from the medical center again. He was growing fast already, as tall as Harin's waist, with scales that shimmered like dark metal. His red eyes looked worried. "Friend scared," he said, walking over to Harin. His speech was getting better every day. "Why friend scared?" Harin knelt down and hugged him. "Some bad people are coming. They want to hurt you because you're different from them." "Different? How? You're kind. You protect people instead of hurting them. They don't understand that." Young Quan's eyes glowed brighter. "They want to make me like them? Make me hurt people? Yes, I won't." His voice was small but determined. "I won't hurt friends. I won't hurt innocent people. Never." Commander Chun looked at the young Drakari with amazement. He really is different, isn't he? Even facing death, he's more concerned about protecting others than saving himself. "That's why we can't let them take him," Harin said. "And that's why we need to run." "Run where?" Jinha asked. "The Drakari can track anything in space. Their ships are faster than ours. Their weapons are stronger than we don't rely on." "Speed or weapons," Harin said. "We rely on being smart." 2 hours later, they were aboard a modified human exploration ship called the Pioneer. It was small, fast, and equipped with the best stealth technology humans had developed. Commander Chun had given them supplies, fuel, and her blessing. "Stay off the main shipping lanes," she warned them. "Don't contact any major stations. And whatever you do, don't let them corner you in open space." Young Quan stood at the ship's window, watching Nexus Station grow smaller. "Home?" he asked. "Sadly, we'll find a new home," Harin promised. "Somewhere safe," but she knew safety was a dream. The Drakari were already hunting them. The chase began within hours. The Pioneer's sensors detected the first pursuit ship while they were still in the outer system. Then 2 more appeared. Then 3. "They're fast," Jinna said, piloting the ship through an asteroid field. "But we're smaller. We can hide where they can't follow." For 3 days, they played a deadly game of hide-and-seek. The Pioneer darted between asteroids, hid in the shadows of dead planets, and used every trick Jinha knew from his military days, but the Drakari kept coming. On the 4th day, they received a distress signal. "It's a refugee convoy," Harin said, reading the message. "Families fleeing from the Outer Rim, they're under attack by pirates." "We can't help them," Jinha said. "We have our own problems." But young Quan was already moving toward the ship's controls. "Innocent people," he said, "need help." "Quan, no," Harin said. "It's too dangerous. If we stop to help, the Drakari will catch us." Young Quan looked at her with his glowing red eyes. "If we don't help, innocent people die? That's not right." "But if we help them, we might die too." "Then we die doing the right thing." Harin stared at him. Here was a child barely 6 months old willing to risk his life to save strangers. No wonder the Drakari Empire considered him corrupted. "Jinha," she said quietly, "change course. We're helping the refugees." "Are you insane?" "Maybe, but he's right. We can't let innocent people die just to save ourselves." The refugee convoy was in bad shape when they arrived. 5 transport ships full of families under attack by 12 pirate vessels. The refugees had no weapons, no shields, no way to fight back. Young Quan studied the tactical display. Pirates attacking from 3 directions. Refugees can't escape. What do you suggest? Jinha asked. We don't run away from the pirates. Young Quan said, we run toward them. That's suicide. No, that's strategy. What happened next amazed both humans. Young Quan didn't just have the physical abilities of his species. He had inherited their tactical genius too. But unlike other Drakari, he used it to protect instead of hunt. The pioneer dove straight at the largest pirate ship. At the last second, Jinha fired all their weapons at the pirates' engines. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. 1 down, Young Quan said calmly. 11 to go. They fought for 20 minutes. The pioneer was small and fast, but the pirates had more ships and bigger weapons. Just when it looked like they might lose, Young Quan did something incredible. He reached out with his mind not to the humans, but to the pirates themselves. Stop, his mental voice echoed across space. You hunt the weak, you kill the innocent. This is wrong. The pirate ships slowed down. Their crews were confused, frightened by the telepathic contact. I am Drakari, Young Quan continued. I am apex predator. But I choose to protect, not destroy. You will leave these people alone or you will face me. The remaining pirate ships fled. They were criminals and bullies, but they weren't stupid. They knew what a Drakari could do, even a young one. The refugees were safe, but the victory came with a price. The Drakari hunting party had detected the telepathic burst. They knew exactly where the pioneer was. 3 ships coming in fast, Jinha reported. We can't outrun them this time. Harin looked at Young Quan. Any ideas? Yes, he said. We stop running. What? They want to catch me. They think I'm weak because I'm different. Maybe it's time to show them what different really means. The 3 Drakari ships surrounded the pioneer on a barren moon at the edge of the system. Harin watched through the view screen as massive warriors in black armor stepped out of their ships. Each one was 12 feet tall, covered in weapons, and radiated menace. At their head was Battlemaster Morthok. Even through the view screen, Harin could see his cold, intelligent eyes. This was a predator who had killed 1,000 beings and felt no regret. Surrender the corrupted offspring, his voice boomed across the communication system. Your deaths will be quick if you comply. Young Quan walked to the ship's communication console. I am not corrupted, he said, his young voice clear and strong. I am evolved. I am what Drakari could become if they chose to be more than killers. Morthok laughed. You are weak. You show mercy to enemies. You protect lesser beings. You have forgotten what it means to be Drakari. No, Young Quan said. I have remembered what it means to be good. Then you will die learning the truth. Face me in combat, corrupted one. Let us see if your weakness can defeat real strength. Young Quan looked at Harin and Jinha. Thank you for teaching me to choose kindness over cruelty. Now I have to teach them that kindness is not weakness. He walked toward the ship's exit. Harin tried to stop him, but he was already too strong for her to hold back. Quan, don't do this. You're just a child. I am Drakari, he said, but I am also human in my heart. That makes me stronger than they know. The young predator stepped out onto the moon's surface to face the greatest killer in the galaxy. Behind him, the humans watched and prayed that their lessons of mercy and protection would be enough to keep their child alive. The battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy was about to begin. The moon's surface was gray and lifeless. No wind, no sound, just empty rock under a black sky filled with stars. It was the perfect place for a battle that would change everything. Young Quan stood in the center of a flat area, looking small against the vast emptiness. He was only 6 months old, but already 7 feet tall and stronger than most adult aliens. Still, he looked like a child compared to the 5 Drakari warriors who surrounded him. Battlemaster Morthok was the largest. 12 feet of muscle, and scales covered in scars from 1,000 battles. His red eyes glowed like burning coals. Behind him stood 4 other warriors, each one a killer who had never known defeat. This is your last chance, corrupted one, Morthok said, his voice like grinding stone. Renounce your weakness. Embrace your true nature. Kill something to prove you are still Drakari. Young Quan shook his head. I am Drakari. But I am also something more. I choose who I want to be. Choose? Morthic laughed. You think you have a choice? You are apex predator. You hunt, you kill, you dominate. That is what you are. No, young Quan said quietly. That is what you are. I am what we could become. Inside the Pioneer, Her-In watched through the view screen. Her heart was breaking. Young Quan was brave, but he was still just a child. How could he fight against warriors who had killed for centuries? We have to help him, she said to Jin-Ha. How? Our weapons can't hurt them. And if we go out there, we'll just get in his way. There has to be something we can do. Jin-Ha looked at the communication console. Maybe there is. You have that telepathic connection with him, right? The one that started when his mother died? Harin nodded. It's been getting stronger as he grows. Why? Because he's about to face the fight of his life. And he's going to need every advantage he can get. Outside, the battle had begun. Morthek moved like lightning, his massive body crossing the distance to young Quan in seconds. His claws swept down, sharp enough to cut through steel. Young Quan dodged, but barely. The claws missed his face by inches. Too slow! Corrupted one! Morthek snarled. Your mercy has made you weak. Young Quan rolled away from another attack. He was fast, but Morthek was faster. The ancient warrior had fought for 300 years. He knew every trick, every weakness, every way to kill. Fight back! Morthek roared. Show me you are still a predator. Young Quan tried to attack, but his heart wasn't in it. He had learned to protect, not to hurt. When he struck at Morthek, he pulled back at the last second, unwilling to cause serious damage. Morthek's claws raked across young Quan's chest. Green blood splattered on the gray rock. The young Drakari stumbled backward, hurt and confused. You see? Morthek said to the other warriors. He cannot even defend himself properly. The humans have made him soft. Inside the ship, Haran felt young Quan's pain through their mental connection. She could feel his confusion, his fear, his desperate desire to protect his friends without becoming a killer. He's holding back, she said. He doesn't want to hurt them. That's going to get him killed, Jin-Ha said. Maybe that's the point. Maybe he'd rather die than become what they want him to be. Then we need to show him there's another way. Harin closed her eyes and reached out with her mind. The telepathic connection with young Quan had been growing stronger every day. Now she poured all her strength into it. Quan, she called to him across the mental link, can you hear me? On the moon's surface, young Quan's eyes widened. Harin's voice was clear in his mind, even as Morthek's claws slashed at him again. Harin? How? I'm with you. We're both with you. Listen to me, Quan. You don't have to choose between being strong and being good. You can be both. Morthek grabbed young Quan by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Any last words, corrupted one? But young Quan wasn't listening to Morthek anymore. He was listening to Harin's voice in his mind, and through her, he felt something incredible. He felt the memories of humanity. Harin opened her mind completely, sharing not just her own thoughts, but the collective memory of her species. Young Quan experienced moments of human history. Soldiers who fought not for conquest, but to protect the innocent. Doctors who risked their lives to save strangers, ordinary people who chose to do the right thing even when it cost them everything. He felt the fire that burned inside every human heart, the refusal to give up, the determination to fight for what was right, the absolute conviction that strength should protect the weak instead of destroying them. You see? Harin's voice whispered in his mind. Strength isn't about being the biggest predator. It's about choosing to use your power to make the world better. Young Quan's eyes blazed with new understanding. He reached up and grabbed Morthek's wrist. His grip was gentle, but unbreakable. I am not corrupted, he said calmly. I am evolved. He twisted free from Morthek's grip and landed on his feet, but something had changed. His movements were different now, not the hesitant actions of someone afraid to hurt others, but the precise motions of someone who knew exactly what he was doing. I am Apex Predator, young Quan said, his voice carrying across the empty moon. But I choose what? I hunt, and I hunt those who harm the innocent. Morthic attacked again, but this time young Quan was ready. He moved with all the speed and power of his species, but guided by human wisdom. He fought not with rage or bloodlust, but with purpose. The battle was incredible to watch. Two apex predators, each representing a different path for their species. Morthak fought with centuries of experience and ruthless skill. Young Quan fought with natural ability enhanced by human determination. Claws met claws, minds clashed in telepathic combat. The ground shook with the impact of their blows. But young Quan was not just fighting for himself. He was fighting for every innocent being in the galaxy. He was fighting for the idea that strength and goodness could exist together. Slowly, impossibly, he began to win. Morthic's attacks became desperate. The ancient warrior had never faced an opponent like this, someone who fought with the power of a predator, but the heart of a protector. This is impossible, Morthic snarled. You are weak. You show mercy. Mercy is not weakness, young Quan sighed, dodging another strike. Mercy is strength under control? He caught Morthic's wrist and twisted. The ancient warrior stumbled. Young Quan could have killed him then. His claws were at Morthic's throat. Instead, he stepped back. I could end your life right now, he said, but I choose not to. That is my strength. Morthic stared at him in shock. You spare. Me? I spare all of you. Go back to the Empire. Tell them what you have seen. Tell them that Drakari can be more than killers. We can be guardians. The other warriors looked at each other in confusion. Their entire worldview had been shattered. A young Drakari had defeated their greatest champion, then shown him mercy. This changes nothing, Morthic said, but his voice was uncertain. The Empire will send more hunters. They will never accept what you have become. Then I will teach them, young Quan said. One by one, if necessary. I will show them that we can choose to be better than our nature. Morthak and his warriors retreated to their ships. But before they left, the ancient battlemaster looked back at young Quan. You are not what I expected, he said. Perhaps the Empire needs to learn about this new way. The ships disappeared into space, leaving young Quan alone on the moon's surface. He stood there for a moment, looking up at the stars before walking back to the Pioneer. Inside the ship, Harin and Jinha waited for him. When he entered, they could see that he had changed. He was still young, still learning, but there was something new in his eyes, confidence, purpose, the knowledge that he had found his path. You did it, Harin said, hugging him. You showed them that strength and goodness can go together. I learned from the best teachers, young Quan said. You taught me that being strong doesn't mean being cruel, that protecting others is worth. Any risk? What happens now? Jinha asked. Young Quan looked out at the stars. Now we change the galaxy. We show everyone that there's a better way to be strong. We teach them that apex predators can be guardians instead of killers. It won't be easy, Harin said. Many will resist. Change. Then we'll be patient, young Quan said. Humans taught me that the best victories are won not with claws and teeth, but with hearts and minds. As the Pioneer flew away from the barren moon, young Quan began to plan. He would find other young Drakari. He would teach them what he had learned. He would show the galaxy that evolution was possible, that even the most feared predators could choose to become something better. The fire of humanity burned bright in his heart, and he would use it to light the way for others. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant when an apex predator chose to protect instead of destroy. 5 years had passed since the battle on the barren moon. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Harin stood on the observation deck of Guardian Station, watching ships come and go. The station was built where Nexus Station used to be, but it was different now. Bigger, stronger, and filled with hope instead of fear. The morning reports, Doctor, Jinha said, walking up behind her. He was older now, with gray in his hair, but his eyes still held the same determination. That had driven him to save a dying cub 5 years ago. Harin smiled as she took the tablet. How many today? 12 new requests for Guardian Corps training, 3 more colonies asking for protection, and 5 young Drakari wanting to join the program. 5 more? Haran was amazed. That makes 43 this year. Kwan's example is spreading, Jinha said. Young Drakari across the galaxy are choosing to become guardians instead of predators. Through the large windows, Haran could see the training grounds. Young beings from dozens of species practiced together, some learning to fight, others learning to heal, all learning to protect. At the center of it all was Kwan. He was magnificent now. 12 feet tall, covered in scales that gleamed like dark metal, with eyes that glowed with intelligence and compassion. He moved among the trainees, teaching them not just how to use their strength, but when to use it. Remember, his voice carried across the training ground, power without purpose is just destruction. We are guardians. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. A young Drakari named Torvin raised his hand. But Master Kwan, what if the enemy is too strong? What if we cannot win? Kwan smiled, something that still amazed everyone who saw it. Adult Drakari were not supposed to smile. They were supposed to be cold, ruthless predators. But Kwan had learned from humans that strength and warmth could exist together. And they fight anyway, he said. Not because we think we will win, but because fighting for the innocent is always right. Victory is good, but honor is better. Haran watched with pride. The frightened cub she had saved 5 years ago was now a teacher, a leader, and a symbol of hope for the entire galaxy. Dr. Kim, a voice called behind her. She turned to see Commander Zara, the station's leader. The council meeting is about to begin. Haran nodded and followed her to the main conference room. The Galactic Council looked very different now. Instead of the old rulers who had once cowered in fear, new leaders sat around the table, beings who had chosen progress over tradition. The reports are impressive, said Councillor Thekvan, a young Paxthal who had replaced his grandfather as an elder. Guardian Corps teams have stopped 17 conflicts this month. Pirate attacks are down 60%. And for the first time in recorded history, refugee camps are actually shrinking. The numbers are good, agreed Councillor Vexhai, a reformed Kethri who now worked to develop peaceful technology instead of weapons. But what about the resistance, the old Empire factions? Haran pulled up a holographic display. The traditional Drakari Empire has split into 3 groups. The largest faction, led by Morthek, is actually working with us now. They've established their own Guardian training centers. Morthek? Councillor Thekvan looked surprised. The same Morthek who tried to kill Kwan? The same one? After his defeat, he spent 2 years thinking about what he had seen. He realized that Kwan's way was not weakness, it was evolution. Now he teaches young Drakari how to channel their predatory instincts into protective ones. And the other factions? Isahan answered this time. The second group has retreated to the outer rim. They still follow the old ways, but they're not actively fighting us anymore. They're just avoiding change. The third group is the problem, Haran continued. They're led by war leader Gorthal. He believes that Kwan's influence is a disease that will destroy the Drakari forever. His followers call themselves the Pure Hunters. How many ships do they have? Commander Zara asked. About 30. Not enough to challenge us directly, but enough to cause trouble. They've been attacking colonies that accept Guardian protection, trying to prove that our way doesn't work. The meeting continued for another hour, discussing strategies and resources. But Haran's mind kept drifting to the bigger picture. The galaxy was changing, but change was never easy. There would always be those who preferred the old ways, who believed that strength meant domination. After the meeting, she walked to her office. It was filled with letters from across the galaxy. Thank you notes from saved colonies, requests for help from desperate worlds, and reports from Guardian teams working in dangerous areas. One letter caught her attention. It was from a small colony on the edge of known space. Dear Dr. Kim, it read, we are writing to thank you for teaching Kwan to be different. Last week, pirates attacked our settlement. We thought we were going to die. Then a Guardian team arrived, 3 humans, 2 reformed Drakari, and a young Vorthak who had learned your methods. They saved us all. But more than that, they showed us that the galaxy has hope. That strength can be used to protect instead of destroy. Our children sleep safely because of what you started. Thank you for refusing to give up on. One small cub. Haran smiled and put the letter in her collection. She had hundreds like it now. A soft chime announced a visitor. Quan entered, having to duck slightly to fit through the doorway. Even after 5 years, Haran still felt amazed every time she saw him. The tiny, dying cub had become the most powerful being in the galaxy, but he still looked at her with the same affection he had shown as a child. Haran, he said, settling into the specially built chair across from her desk. I wanted to talk to you about something. What is it? I've been thinking about expansion. There are species out there we haven't reached yet. Worlds that still live in fear of predators. I want to send guardian teams to help them. That's wonderful, Quan. What do you need from me? Your blessing and your wisdom. You and Jinha taught me everything I know about being a guardian. Now I want to teach others. Haran looked at him with pride. You don't need my permission? Quan, you stopped needing that years ago. You're a leader now. I'll always need your guidance, he said. You saved my life. More than that, you saved my soul. Without you, I would have died as just another predator. Instead, I became something new. You became yourself, Haran corrected. I just helped you find the right path. They were interrupted by an urgent alarm. Jinha's voice came over the communication system. All Guardian teams to emergency stations. We have a situation in the Kepler system. Multiple ships under attack. Civilian casualties reported. Quan stood up immediately. Another pirate attack? Worse. Jinha's voice was grim. It's war leader Gorthel. He's attacking a refugee convoy, thousands of innocent beings. Quan's eyes blazed with determination. Prepare my ship. I'm going after him. Quan, wait, Haran said. Gorthel is dangerous. He's not like Morthak. He won't listen to reason. Then I'll have to speak in a language he understands, Quan replied. But I'll speak it with honor. An hour later, Haran watched from the station's command center as Quan's ship, the Protector, jumped to hyperspace. Around her, the Guardian corps mobilized with practiced efficiency. Humans, reformed Drakari, and dozens of other species worked together to coordinate the rescue mission. He'll be okay, Jinha said, standing beside her. We trained him well. I know, Haran replied, but I still worry. He's not just our student anymore. He's the symbol of everything we've built. If something happens to him, then someone else will take his place, Jinha said confidently. Look around you, Haran. This isn't just about one Drakari anymore, it's about an idea. The idea that strength should protect the weak, that predators can choose to be guardians. That's bigger than any one person. Haran nodded, but she kept watching the stars where Quan's ship had disappeared. 6 hours later, the reports started coming in. Quan had reached the refugee convoy just as Gorthel's ships began their attack. The battle was fierce but brief. Quan didn't just defeat the pure hunters, he convinced half of them to surrender and join the Guardian Corps. What about Gorthel? Haran asked when Quan reported back. He chose to fight to the death rather than admit he was wrong, Quan said sadly. I gave him every chance to change, but he preferred the old ways. Sometimes that's the choice people make. And the refugees? Safe, all of them. They're being relocated to New Haven Colony, where they'll be protected by a permanent guardian. Team, Haran smiled. Another victory for the good guys. More than that, Quan said. 3 young Drakari from Gorthel's fleet have asked to join our training program. Even in defeat, the old ways are producing new guardians. As the years passed, the transformation continued. The galaxy that had once been ruled by fear was slowly becoming a place of hope. Predator species learned to protect instead of hunt. Weak species found the courage to stand up for themselves. And throughout it all, the Guardian Corps grew stronger. Haran eventually retired from active duty, but she never stopped teaching. She wrote books about interspecies cooperation, trained new doctors in alien biology, and always kept her door open for anyone who needed help. Jinha became the head of Guardian Corps' military training, teaching beings from across the galaxy that true strength came from knowing when to fight and when to show mercy.